Welcome to Malala's Courageous Advocacy, a compelling journey into a young girl's fearless stand for girls' education. As we explore Malala's inspiring story, you'll encounter a narrative woven with bravery and determination. Complex vocabulary and notable grammar choices will be seamlessly explained right within the story, enhancing your understanding without interrupting the flow. Picture yourself amidst bustling Pakistani marketplaces and serene valleys, where Malala's advocacy defies adversity and inspires a global movement. Together we'll delve into themes of courage, resilience, and justice, while understanding the profound impact of Malala's voice in echoing classrooms worldwide. Let's embark on this journey with empathy and inspiration. The marketplace was alive with a kaleidoscope of colors and the pungent, meaning strong-smelling, aroma of spices that danced in the air. Stalls lined the dusty street, each vendor calling out with the vivacity, meaning liveliness, of someone who knew their livelihood depended on it. Among this vibrant chaos stood Ziauddin, his voice slicing through the din as he spoke with unwavering, meaning steady, conviction about the power of education. His words were imbued with hope and urgency, painting a picture of futures transformed by the unlocking of potential. Malala, standing just beyond the reach of the crowd, absorbed each impassioned word. Her heart swelled with a fervent, passionate desire to learn and to help others do the same. The marketplace seemed to pulse with the energy of her father's speech, etching each syllable into her heart. His belief in the transformative power of education was infectious, sparking a flame within her that refused to dim. Yet, even amidst his public zeal, Ziauddin was not blind to the shadowy threats that loomed closer each day. The marketplace, though bustling and full of life, was not immune to the whispers of danger that circulated like an asterisk insidious, meaning subtle yet harmful, draft. He had been worrying about the encroaching extremism that threatened their very existence. Past perfect continuous for background, auxiliary plus been plus present participle. Still, not a hint of this concern seeped into his performance, his public persona as bold and unwavering as the mountains that framed their town. As the crowd began to disperse, Malala noticed a girl her age, standing quietly at the edge of the throng. There was a yearning, meaning longing, in her eyes, a silent plea for the education she had been denied. Their eyes met, and in that brief moment, an unspoken bond formed between them. For Malala, it was a poignant reminder of why her father's message was so vital. Education was not just a path to knowledge, but a lifeline to asterisk empowerment, meaning giving power. Later, as the dusty market settled into a softer hum, Malala found herself alone, wrestling with the duality of her existence. There was a persistent fear that clawed at her resolve, a concern that she might be silenced by those who feared her voice. Not only did she feel the weight of her public role, but she also battled the private anxiety that came with it, inversion after negative adverbials, auxiliary plus subject. The courage she displayed so effortlessly in public was often eclipsed by a shadow of self-doubt when she was alone. Yet as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that mingled with the murmurs of the night, Malala's determination crystallized. Understanding that the path before her was fraught with danger made her resolve, determination, all the more tenacious, meaning persistent. She knew the stakes were high, not just for herself, but for every girl whose dreams were bound by the constraints of societal injustice. With each passing day, Malala was more convinced of the transformative, life-changing power of education. It was a beacon of hope that could illuminate even the darkest corners of the world. As she lay in bed that night, listening to the melodic, meaning pleasant-sounding crickets outside her window, she whispered to herself a promise of unwavering commitment to the cause. Little did she know, this promise would soon be tested in ways she could scarcely imagine. Malala stood before the gathering, her voice earnest, meaning sincere, yet trembling. She spoke passionately, about the undeniable right to education for girls. The crowd, a mix of curious onlookers and steadfast supporters, listened intently. A gentle breeze rustled through the marketplace, carrying her words further than her voice alone could reach. The atmosphere was charged with a blend of hope and apprehension. Her speech was not just a plea, it was a manifesto of courage. For every girl denied access to education, Malala's voice rose as a beacon of empowerment. She articulated her vision with clarity, her words etching themselves into the consciousness of those present. As the gathering dispersed, the bustling marketplace slowly quieted, transitioning to the more intimate setting of their home. The bustling energy seeped through the walls, yet inside, a sense of foreboding hung heavy. Malala and her father, Ziauddin, entered to find ominous notes at their doorstep. The notes were threats, vicious and unyielding, left by those who detested her advocacy. Ziauddin's demeanor shifted visibly. In public, he was ever the passionate orator, but here, within the confines of their home, caution crept into his voice. "These are dangerous times," he began, his eyes searching Malala's face for any sign of doubt. "The risks grow with each speech you give." Malala listened, absorbing his words. She was aware of the peril that shadowed them, yet resolved to push forward. Her resolve was strengthened by the very threats meant to silence her. "We cannot stop," she asserted, determination weaving through her voice. "If we relent now, we forfeit the future." Ziauddin, though protective, understood the depth of her conviction. They shared a vision that transcended fear, a world where education was not a privilege but a right. He nodded, reluctant but resigned to their shared path. Outside, the serene, meaning calm, valleys whispered of impending change. What was once a realm of peace now carried the unsettling cadence of threat. Yet, amid this altered landscape, Malala found strength. The valleys, with their whispering winds and silent witnesses, became her companions in resilience. In the quiet of their home, Malala and Ziauddin sat together, their conversation a testament to their unwavering determination. "If anything happens," Ziauddin began, his voice trailing off as he grappled with the unspoken what-if that loomed over them. Malala reached for his hand, her grip firm. "We continue because we must," she said, her voice a beacon against the encroaching darkness. "Imagine a world where girls can dream, without fear, without boundaries." The hypothetical world she painted shimmered with possibility, a stark contrast to the threats they faced. Her words, though spoken in the conditional mood, expresses hypothetical, if, plus subject, plus verb, carried a weight that defied the shadows encroaching upon their lives. As the evening wore on, the reality of their situation settled in like a heavy fog. Yet, despite the danger, Malala's spirit remained unbroken. The hope she carried was infectious, lighting a path forward not just for her, but for every girl who dreamed of classrooms and learning. Their conversation, filled with earnest appeals and shared resolve, lingered in the air. It was a reminder that the journey they embarked on was fraught with challenges, yet infused with the promise of change. Even as the notes of threat lay discarded, their impact lingered, igniting a fire within Malala that refused to be extinguished. While the night cloaked their home in shadows, Malala's vision for a brighter dawn glowed brightly. She understood the stakes, the enormity of what lay before them, but stood undeterred. She embodied not just the courage of a single voice, but the collective strength of countless unheard stories. The valleys outside, once serene, now echoed with the murmurs of resistance, a backdrop to Malala's unyielding spirit. Her journey was just beginning, and with each step, she carried with her the indomitable hope of a future transformed. As she and Ziauddin prepared for yet another day in their struggle, the subtle hook of potential dangers loomed unseen. Yet it was within these very challenges that the seeds of change took root, promising a future where every voice could rise without fear. In the hushed ambiance of their home, Ziauddin spoke softly with his wife, his voice barely rising above a whisper. The fragrant spices from the evening meal lingered in the air, mingling with the distant hum of evening calls to prayer wafting through the open windows. He was sharing his internal turmoil, a conflict that had been simmering beneath his steadfast exterior. Though outwardly resolute in his passion for Malala's cause, Ziauddin grappled internally with a protective instinct that bordered on overbearing concern. The duality was torturous. He admired Malala's courage and determination, yet the father in him couldn't help but worry about the dangers she faced. He felt as if he were standing on the edge of a precipice, looking down into an abyss of what-ifs and maybes. As they sat together, he considered discussing his safety concerns with Malala. The words danced on the tip of his tongue, yet he hesitated. He was wary of inadvertently suppressing her spirited resolve, of dampening the fire that fueled her advocacy. He feared that by vocalizing his worries, he might clip the wings of her dreams, something he vowed never to do. The pervasive silence of their home contrasted sharply with Ziauddin's tumultuous thoughts, meaning chaotic. His mind was a cacophony, meaning noise, of fears and hopes, each vying for dominance. He had been debating for days. Past perfect continuous had plus been, plus present participle, wrestling with the weight of his decisions, uncertain of the path that would safeguard his daughter without stifling her spirit. Later in the bustling marketplace, Ziauddin wandered through the throngs of people, the vibrant tapestry of life unfolding around him. The cacophony of haggling voices and vivid colors underscored the vibrancy of life and the stakes involved in their cause. Here, amid the chaos, life pulsed with an unyielding energy, a testament to the resilience of his people. It was in this lively setting that Ziauddin encountered an old friend. The man's weathered face broke into a broad smile, his eyes twinkling with warmth. Their conversation meandered through the usual pleasantries before inevitably turning to Malala. Unaware of Ziauddin's internal struggle, the friend praised Malala's bravery. His words were a balm and a burden, soothing Ziauddin's pride while intensifying his fears. Ziauddin's mind oscillated, meaning swings, between pride and fear. Never had Ziauddin felt so torn. Inversion for emphasis, auxiliary plus subject, plus past participle. His friend's reminder of the dangers lurking for those who challenged the status quo only sharpened the edges of his anxiety. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, a reminder of the precarious balance between safety and advocacy. Resolute in his decision, Ziauddin resolved, meaning decision, to discuss his fears with Malala, but this time he aimed to empower rather than restrain her. He sought a balance between protection and empowerment, a path that would allow him to support her without casting shadows on her light. As the call to prayer echoed over the marketplace, Ziauddin knew that the conversation with Malala would not be an easy one. Yet he embraced the challenge, driven by a conviction as unyielding as the mountains that cradled their valley. And as he made his way home, he felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face whatever lay ahead with the quiet strength that had always been his ally. Malala's words resonated, meaning echoed, through bustling marketplaces and serene valleys alike. Her voice, both gentle and commanding, found its way into the hearts of many. As she spoke, the hum of daily life seemed to pause in reverence. Her speeches gained acclaim, meaning praise, far beyond her small town, capturing the attention of those in distant lands. It wasn't long before global advocates began to send messages of asterisk solidarity, meaning unity, strengthening her resolve and courage in her mission for education. With each letter and email, Malala felt a surge of empowerment. These messages carried the weight of shared dreams and hopes for a just world. Yet, along with this growing support came a palpable sense of danger. Sensing a shift in the air, the threats from extremists began to surface more explicitly. Shadows of fear crept into the corners of their lives, whispering of a reality that was both perilous and unavoidable. Ziauddin, Malala's father, noticed these changes with a heavy heart. His worries were not unfounded. He knew the power of words and the provocation, meaning incitement, they could cause. In quieter moments, when the world outside seemed to pause, Ziauddin would speak to Malala with a tone both stern and loving. "Malala," he said, his voice low, "we must tread carefully. Your voice is powerful, but there are those who fear what they do not understand." She nodded, understanding the importance of his caution. Yet within her there was a fire that refused to be quenched. Malala's determination was unyielding, meaning unwavering. She battled anxiety, a familiar companion in solitude, but her resolve to advocate for education never wavered. In those moments of introspection, Malala reflected on the power of her words. She understood the potential they held to inspire change, to provoke fear, and to bridge the divide between ignorance and enlightenment. Despite the risks, she felt an undeniable calling. Her speeches were not just a collection of words, they were a beacon of hope in a landscape shrouded in doubt. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over their home, Malala and Ziauddin sat together. Their conversation dipped into the territory of dreams and fears, a delicate balance between hope and reality. "Never have we been so close to change," Ziauddin murmured, an edge of both excitement and trepidation in his voice. Inversion after negative adverbials, auxiliary plus subject. "I know," Malala replied earnestly, "but if we do not speak, who will?" His eyes softened, full of love and admiration. "I wish it were as simple as that," he sighed, his voice a mixture of pride and concern. Subjunctive mood, express wishes. Malala reached for his hand, grounding them in a moment of shared understanding. Despite the looming threats, their resolve was rooted deeply in love and duty. They knew the importance of their cause and the risks it entailed. Each word they uttered was a step towards a dream that was both beautiful and daunting. As the night enveloped their home, Malala prepared for her next speech. She stood before her reflection, rehearsing words that would soon travel beyond the confines of her room. Her voice, though touched by internal doubts, remained unwavering. She was acutely aware of the stakes, yet her belief in the power of education outshone the shadows of fear. The wind rustled gently through the trees outside, carrying with it the promise of another day. As Malala took a deep breath, she felt a familiar surge of courage. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, but the seeds of change had already been sown. And so, with a heart full of hope, she prepared to step into the world once more. The metallic clang of the bus door echoed sharply as Malala stepped inside, a sound at odds with the gentle hum of her classmates' chatter. The cool morning air still clung to her skin, a reminder of her walk through the valley, where the hills whispered stories of courage and resistance. Inside the bus, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Exams were looming, yet conversation flowed easily enough, buoyed by shared anxieties and youthful optimism. Malala settled into her usual seat, her thoughts drifting back to the speech she planned to give that evening, her words as of yet unformed but undeniably powerful. Suddenly, a tense silence descended. A shadow moved, a figure, sinister and unfathomable, meaning incomprehensible, appeared, its presence jarring and alien. The world blurred, sounds turned into a cacophony of fear and chaos. An attack, brutal and swift, shattered the morning calm, leaving a haunting stillness in its wake. The next sensation was the bright, sterile lighting of the hospital, where the clinical smell of antiseptic overwhelmed the air, mingling with whispered prayers and hushed conversations. Ziauddin, his face lined with worry and resolve, moved through the corridors with a frantic energy. He sought answers, demanded them with the tenacity, meaning persistence, of a father desperate to protect what he held most dear. "Doctor, she will recover, won't she?" The question hung heavy in the air. Xiaodin's voice, usually so firm, betrayed a tremble, a chink in his armor of certainty. She must speak again. The doctor paused, his silence more telling than words. Xiaodin's heart clenched, doubt gnawing at the edges of his resolve. Had he known inversion for emphasis, auxiliary plus subject plus past participle, he might have shielded her more fiercely, wrapped her in layers of protection he could scarcely afford. Beyond the hospital's confines, the world spun with urgency. Newsrooms around the globe buzzed with activity. Screens flashed images of Malala, her face a symbol of defiance and hope. Journalists spoke in hurried tones, their words a chorus of outrage and support. Malala's cause, a catalyst, meaning spark, for change, resonated louder than ever. International leaders, their voices amplified through media statements, expressed their solidarity. They condemned the attack, called for justice, and reaffirmed their commitment to education and equality. Malala had become more than a girl. She was a movement, a living testament to resilience and courage. Back in the quiet halls of the hospital, letters and messages began to arrive, a soft rustle of paper and the digital hum of emails. Voices of solidarity reached out from every corner of the world. Malala's message had transcended borders, her fight a universal rallying cry. Xiaodin paused, absorbing the outpouring of support. Despite the fear, the uncertainty, a spark of hope flickered within him. Malala would speak again. He was certain of it, her voice stronger, her resolve unbroken. The world was listening, and her words would echo, unfaltering and tenacious. As the day waned, an uneasy calm settled in. The air was thick with anticipation, the sense that a new chapter was beginning. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, yet Xiaodin felt a renewed vigor. He would stand by Malala, unwavering, as the world watched and waited. The pulsing rhythm of time moved forward, and with it, the promise of change, a transformation as inevitable as the dawn. The hospital room was a cocoon of quiet resilience. Sterile smells mixed with the rhythmic beeping of machines, while soft light filtered through the sheer curtains, lending a gentle glow to the stark interior. Lying in the bed, Malala listened to the hum of life-supporting technology. Her mind, however, was elsewhere, on the path that had brought her here, and the resolve it had galvanized, meaning provoked action, within her. She turned her head slightly, catching the rustle of paper. Letters lay scattered like fallen leaves, whispering secrets of solidarity from distant lands. Each envelope she opened unveiled words of encouragement that wrapped around her like a warm embrace. The world was watching, listening. Her voice had not been silenced. The letters were tangible proof of global support, a testament to her advocacy reaching far beyond the valleys she called home. Xiaodin entered the room with the quiet confidence of a man who had weathered many storms. "Malala," he said softly, his voice a mixture of pride and concern. He sat beside her, gently picking up one of the letters. She looked at him, eyes bright with gratitude. "These letters," she began, her voice earnest and hopeful, "they remind me why I started speaking out. They give me strength." Xiaodin nodded, his expression a blend of admiration and protectiveness. "Your courage has inspired many. No sooner had they heard your story than they were moved to support you," he said, emphasizing the swift and heartfelt response she had galvanized. Inversion after negative adverbial for emphasis. "All I feel is gratitude," Malala replied, "and a sense of empowerment, meaning granting of power or authority, to keep going." Xiaodin placed a hand on her shoulder, a silent vow of support. He understood the gravity of her mission and the dangers it entailed. "We will continue this fight together," he promised, his voice firm yet tender. "I am with you, always." The room seemed to expand, the walls fading into the backdrop of a larger world. Malala imagined herself standing on a global stage, her words echoing into the vastness. The letters were a reminder that her advocacy had transcended borders, reaching ears in lands she had never seen. Her mind wandered to what she might say next, how she might further her cause. Were I to falter, she mused aloud, her tone contemplative, the dreams of many girls might remain just that. Dreams. Subjunctive mood for hypothetical. Her father listened, understanding the weight of her words. You have already achieved so much, he reassured, but there is more to be done. Malala nodded. There was solace, meaning comfort in distress, in knowing she was not alone. Her journey had become a shared endeavor, fueled by the collective will of those who believed in justice and education for all. As the day slipped into evening, the room grew quieter still, but the resolve within Malala only strengthened. She knew challenges lay ahead, yet the letters clutched in her hand were a testament to the boundless reach of hope and solidarity. And in that quiet moment, the seeds of her next steps began to take root, intertwining with the promise of new beginnings and unyielding advocacy. Outside, the night descended, a calm harbinger of the battles yet to be waged. But within the room, a light remained, steady, unwavering, and ready to illuminate the path forward. Thanks for tuning in to the English Frequency Podcast. We're glad to be part of your English learning journey from beginner to advanced. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, share, and leave a review. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and see you in the next episode.